Sometimes I miss the signs. You know what I mean? Sometimes I miss the signs. Like this week, driving to Dallas to be with family for Thanksgiving. I missed the sign for 287 to Fort Worth. And I'm behind the wheel, music softly playing, having a lovely conversation with my wife Erica, and then I begin to see other signs for Oklahoma City. And I think to myself, that doesn't seem right. I don't remember seeing those before. I drive a little farther down the road. I see another sign for Oklahoma City and other towns I know we're not supposed to be driving through. So guess what? After Erica put the directions into the Google Maps for me, I'm behind the wheel still, music still softly playing, continuing a lovely conversation with Erica, and guess what? I missed the sign to take the exit to get us back on the road we should have been on all along. Sometimes I miss the signs. How about you? What about misread signs? Y'all ever misread signs? That's easy to do, I think. I saw a church sign not long ago, you know, the kind that stand out in front of the church with the black letters they change from time to time. I read a church sign that had two seemingly unrelated statements, one on top of the other. The top one was the title of a sermon in quotations, and the other was an announcement. But the sign read, "Do you know what hell is? Come here, our new organist." It happens. It happens. We miss and we misread the signs all the time. On the road, with family, friends, work or school, in the world, unfolding events around us or across the globe, and even inside our own lives. We stop paying attention, we miss the signs, we find ourselves lost, whether on a highway or in our hearts. It happens. There will be signs. We hear Jesus saying this first Sunday of Advent, there will be signs. Strange ones at that. Did you hear it? In the sun, in the moon, in the stars, distressed and confused nations, seas that roar, people filled with fear and foreboding, and then the Son of Man in a cloud with power and great glory. Talk about signs. Nothing like beginning Advent with a little apocalypse, huh? That word apocalypse, it's a tricky word. It's a tricky word because it's been co-opted by a certain strand of Christianity filled with fundamentalist preachers pounding their fists and waving their Bibles and making predictions about the end times. But as Yogi Berra once said, it's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. So what is Jesus doing here? Well, he's quoting Isaiah, and he's quoting the prophet Ezekiel and Jonah and Joel and the book of Daniel. Jesus is quoting the apocalyptic literature of the Hebrew Scriptures, a literature filled with striking imagery and robust language that was intended to jar people's imaginations, not to predict the future, but to help them be patient in their suffering and place their hope in God. See, Jesus is using the language of Israel's past so they can be patient in the present and not lose hope about the future. But let's face it, it's still strange. I think these words may still fall on our ears the way a record might if you played the music backwards, which is why I absolutely love what Jesus does next. I can see him there watching the disciples, listening to him. Maybe the disciples are tired. Maybe the expressions on their faces reveal there's not a light on in the attic. And he looks around and he keeps looking around. And in his looking, he sees. In his looking, he sees a sign, if you will. And he says, "Oh, would you look at this fig tree? Come here, look at this fig tree. Look at all of these trees. Do you see how they're sprouting these little leaves? See, you got to pay attention. You have to pay attention, he says. Be on guard so that your hearts are not weighed down with dissipation, drunkenness, and the worries of this life. Be alert. Pray for strength. He takes this occurrence in creation, this small, subtle, some might even say ordinary thing, little leaves growing on the branches of a tree, to teach them about attention and prayer. Last week, my friends sent me a photo of their young, beautiful daughter. She's around 4, maybe almost 5 years old. Wind tossing her thick, dark, curly hair across her face, 2 eyes gazing out, twinkling with mischief and wonder, standing in front of a sign outside of a bookstore with the words of the poet Mary Oliver painted on them. Pay attention. Be astonished. Tell about it. Which, I believe, is a way not just to approach poetry, but prayer. Pay attention, Jesus says. Pay attention. It reminds me of this time we took our pop-up camper to the mountains of New Mexico. Behind our camper spot ran this little bitty river, or a tributary of the river. It was beautiful. You could hear it running while you drifted to sleep at night. Each of our kids dropped a fishing line or were throwing rocks into it or running alongside the river to see how far it went or from whence it came. And I was just back and forth between reading a book and glancing up at them, not really paying much attention. And then I saw this sign, bright yellow sign, black letters, a warning sign, placed there by the campground owners for liability reasons, of course, placed there right next to the little river. It read, "Please watch your children." And in reading that sign, the words took on a different meaning. It was trying to tell me about something other than safety, not please watch your children to prevent an accident from occurring, but please watch your children because what else would you rather be watching right now? Please watch your children because you only have this time with them once. Please watch your children because you are not promised tomorrow. Please watch your children because your love for them is often the closest you come to feeling God inside your troubled heart. There will be signs, Jesus said. And sometimes we miss them. And sometimes we misread them. But sometimes we read them. And in reading them, we hear something of our own lives being read back to us. And we're reminded maybe the most astonishing thing isn't that we possess an unfaltering belief God came once in a manger or will come again in the sky, but that God arrives all the time in the small, subtle, sprouting green leaves of our day, showing us that there's something greater than us at work in our lives that can offer us strength and offer us hope and love. But we must pay attention. We must pay attention the best we can and offer our prayers, gritty or grand, from whatever place our most honest prayers come from. Perhaps this Advent we can all learn how to do that a little better. Perhaps in doing so, each of us will be to another a sign. Amen.